The Simpsons isn't just a TV show, it's a prophecy machine. You've seen the memes. Donald Trump becoming president, smartwatches years before Apple, autocorrect, the Higgs boson particle, the Disney-Fox merger, all predicted by a cartoon with yellow people. At this point, it's not even shocking when reality catches up to an old Simpsons episode. It's almost expected. So how does a TV show manage to predict the future so often? Is it just luck, coincidences, or is there something deeper going on? Something almost conspiratorial? Act 1. The numbers game. Let's start with the obvious. The Simpsons has been on air since 1989. Over 750 episodes, tens of thousands of jokes, plot lines, and background gags. Statistically, with that much content, some predictions were bound to happen. If you throw enough darts blindfolded, you're gonna hit the bullseye eventually. But the math alone doesn't explain why so many of these coincidences feel eerily accurate. There's more going on beneath the surface, and it all starts with the people behind the show. Act 2. The writer's room crystal ball. The Simpsons writers aren't just funny, they're insane geniuses. We're talking Harvard grads, political satirists, mathematicians, even physicists. Some episodes were written with guidance from scientists, economists, and journalists to make certain gags not just funny, but plausibly prophetic. When you fill a writer's room with people who obsessively track politics, technology, and social trends, you're basically creating a think tank disguised as a cartoon. What looks like psychic ability is really educated speculation. They imagine the absurd, but in a world where absurd can sometimes happen, a joke about a gadget or a political figure ends up hitting the headlines years later. Act 3. Reality imitates art. Here's where it gets a little freaky. Sometimes reality doesn't just happen to match The Simpsons. Sometimes reality copies The Simpsons. Politicians, CEOs, and other influential people grew up watching the show. Ideas and absurd scenarios planted in an episode years earlier may have subconsciously influenced decisions in the real world. That's how The Simpsons can sometimes feel like it predicted the future. It didn't just anticipate trends, it helped create them. Act 4. The feedback loop. The show becomes a mirror of culture, which then influences culture, which then reflects back on the show. Example, the smartwatch gag. People joke about tiny computers on wrists in the 90s. Years later, Apple releases the Apple Watch. People point at The Simpsons amazed as if the writers had foreseen the invention. But really, they just visualized an idea already floating in the cultural consciousness. It's a self-reinforcing cycle, a feedback loop where ideas in media influence reality, which then makes the show look prophetic. Act 5. The dark theory. Now the conspiracy level. What if The Simpsons is more than just a show? With decades of episodes, the writers have basically created a catalog of every plausible what-if scenario in modern society. When one of those scenarios eventually comes true, it feels like prophecy, but it's really just the show tapping into human patterns and social trends. In other words, The Simpsons didn't predict the future, it mapped the possibilities of the human world and recorded them in animated form. The longer the show runs, the more likely it is that life will eventually catch up to one of those predictions. Every absurd joke is a little time capsule waiting to become reality. Act 6. Why it feels so creepy. Think about it. Every time a Simpsons prediction comes true, it feels personal. It makes the world feel smaller, stranger, and a little more controlled. It's uncanny. And because the show has been running for over 30 years, with new episodes continuing to drop cultural micro-nuggets, we're now living in a world where almost anything the show imagines could one day happen. It doesn't feel like coincidence. It feels like inevitability. So, why does The Simpsons predict everything? It's a perfect storm. Longevity gives it endless chances. Genius-level writers anticipate trends. Reality sometimes imitates art. Cultural feedback loops make coincidences inevitable. And the show archives every plausible what-if scenario. The Simpsons isn't just a TV show. It's a blueprint for the possible futures of our society. A mirror, a predictor, and sometimes a puppeteer. And the scariest part is, we're still in the middle of it. For all we know, some gag written today will show up in headlines 20 years from now, and we'll all gasp like it's magic. Except, it's not magic, it's The Simpsons.